Hello everyone and welcome to Seven Figure Adventure. Today I want to talk to you about a topic that has been brought to my attention on more than one occasion, and I thought it was worthy to put a video together explaining to you my thoughts on the topic of how to save money when you live paycheck to paycheck. How many of you watched the video today can relate to not having enough money, right? Maybe having too much month at the end of the money, right? So those situations could put you in a situation where you wish you had some savings when things happen. We just recently had a situation with our house. We had house repairs that just kept domino affecting, and we had car repairs that was unexpected. Those things do happen, but you need to prepare for them. And today I want to talk to you about how to save money when you live paycheck to paycheck. And so before we get into that, let me give you some statistics. The average savings rate in 2019, last year, was 7.6%, which is actually lower than what it was in 1960. You see, in 1960, the average savings rate was 11%. People were saving 50% more money in 1960 than they were last year. But something happened, and we all know what happened in 2020 with everything kind of going crazy and the illness that was kind of going around, employees being furloughed, let off their jobs, but they still had an income, whether it be unemployment benefits that were coming in. Some people were being paid more on unemployment than they were working a traditional job. But now they're allowed to skip the rent payments. They're allowed to skip the mortgage payments. They're allowed to, go into forbearance on a lot of their loans and debts. So the reason why the savings rate increased so much in the first half of the year was because of the fact that people weren't paying on their debts right now. And so they were saving that money aside anyway. But here's what I'm expecting to happen once all this settles down. Once the forbearances run out, once the school loans, student loans are being required to be paid again, once the rent moratorium is lifted, where you can no longer just not pay your rent and the rent evictions continue, what's going to happen is they will go through those savings and begin to survive at that point, trying to catch up their bills and catch up their debt payments. So yes, the savings did increase, but I think this can be short-lived. I really do. You see, the average person right now, the average person cannot cover a $400 urgent situation that comes into their household. Most people can't do that. A large percentage of Americans cannot cover a $400 situation that comes into their household. Let me ask you a question. If you were driving your car and the car's check engine light came on, and all of a sudden you realize that you need to take your car to the shop, and it was going to cost you $400 to fix that car, how would you pay for it? There's not a lot of people that actually have car repairs in their budget to the point where they already have it put aside to cover that when it happens. There's not a lot of people out there that have an emergency fund to cover the car repair when it happens. A large percentage of people, more than half the American households right now, cannot cover a $400 situation. The purpose of the video today is to give you an idea of where we are in society in terms of our savings rates and what you can do, some simple things that you can do to generate some extra savings. All right, so let's get into that real quick. I want to talk to you for a second about our dreaded B word. That's right, it's a budget, okay? So let's get into that real quick. Let's talk about how that's going to work for you and how you can find some dollars in your budget to be able to save some money and prepare yourself for things that may happen down the road. So the dreaded B word, the budget, right? You actually have to have a budget. When you are living paycheck to paycheck, you have to know where your money is going. You have to know where it's coming from and where it's going. So if you don't have a budget to know what your income and expenses are, You really do need to work with that first. And before you do anything else, create your budget. Your budget has to be what's called a zero-based budget. What does that mean? A zero-based budget is your income minus your expenses have to equal zero. You have to give every dollar a name. It doesn't matter how you create the budget, whether it's on a spreadsheet, if it's on an online tool, mint.com. Dave Ramsey even has a free tool. It's called everydollar.com. You're welcome to use that as well. It is free. There's a paying version to that, but you could use the free version. It works just fine. Okay? The point is, you have to create the budget. You have to know where the money is coming from and where it's going. And at the end of the month, on that budget, it has to equal zero. Every dollar that comes in minus every dollar that goes out has to equal zero. Why is that important? Why does it have to equal zero? Because if you don't tell your money what to do, the lack of money will tell you what to do. What I mean by that is you have to actually have a plan and action to know what to do with your finances every single month. I'd recommend doing your monthly budget at the end of the prior month. This video right now is being made the first part of August. Okay, so we're being done typically, I think it's August 2nd. So my point is, at the end of August, I'm going to prepare September's budget. Now, we do actually use the everydollar.com website. We use the tool from Dave Ramsey. It does work well for us. Maybe you're not that tech savvy. Maybe you're just a legal pad person, and that's okay too. You can write everything out on legal pad. Income minus all your expenses equals zero. But you need to include everything in that budget you spend money on. Everything, okay? Even if it comes up and like car insurance may be paid once a quarter or every 6 months. Well, you got to figure that out. I mean, if the car insurance is due every 6 months, then you need to divide that 6 months so you know what it is per month. And the amount of money goes into your budget, and that money gets put aside for that car insurance when it comes due at the end of 6 months. Make sense? Okay. So you need to create the budget. It's absolutely critical. You have to start there. The next thing is you want to track your expenses. You have to track your money. Maybe mint.com is a great way you can use. It'll actually download information from your bank, and you can sort through it, and you can create a budget that way, or create a budget and or also track where you put your money at. You can do that. Again, if you're not that tech savvy, you don't want to go that route, just start from this point and just start for the next 30 to 60 days, write out everywhere you spend your money. So you can get an idea when you create your budget, you know exactly where you can cut back and what you don't actually need to be doing in your budget. I'm going a little bit fast because I want to get to how to save some money here. But in order to tell you how to save some money, I have to lay the foundation so you understand kind of where to start. Understand? So let's kind of get into that. So we talked about the budget, tracking everything you spend money on for 30, 60 days, right? And at that point, when you look at where you spent your money on the last 60 days, you can say, look, I've been going out to eat a lot. Dining out is killing me. Maybe you spend, a couple $100 a week, or maybe you spend a few $100s a month, right? That going out to eat is expensive, and it adds up very quickly, especially if in your household there's more than one person there. If it's more than just you, you're paying for multiple mouths, and it can even be more expensive. So maybe you need to cut back on that, or maybe eliminate it altogether. Okay, that's one option for you. The second thing is cable. I can honestly tell you, I do not pay for cable TV in my house. I don't do it. I find it very expensive, and I find it a waste of my time. I could be a lot more productive not staring at a TV screen all day. That's just the way I am. I would rather be in here, being productive with my time, making some money, working my business, and doing things that benefits me and my family, rather than paying $100 a month or more on average for cable TV to stare at a screen. This is not me. The point is, cable is expensive. So if you're paying for cable, maybe if you want to keep your cable, then find a way to downgrade that cable plan. Make it cheaper for yourself, right? Maybe there's a way that they can cut your cable bill in half. You're still saving some money there, Maybe you're like me. You're like, I'm paying for cable, but I really don't use it that much. Then cancel it. You know, we have one of those omnidirectional antennas on our house, and we get almost 40 channels on regular TV, right? We also have, you know, Hulu and Netflix. And I do pay for those. But it's still a much cheaper option to go that route than it is to have to pay for cable every single month. Just a thought, okay? The next thing is your debt situation. When you have a lot of debts that you're paying for, car payments, credit cards, student loans, right? Your student loan's been around so long you think it's a pet, right? I mean, those debts are expensive. Find a way to get those paid off, which we're gonna be covering that in a future video, but find a way to get those things paid off to reduce your monthly cash flow that's gonna be going out to pay bills. The less money that's leaving your household, the more money you can begin to save, right? So I asked a question on our Facebook page a few months back, and the question was, what is easier for you to do? Is it easier for you to cut your expenses or increase your income? And I had someone comment to me, cut my expenses. And my response to her was, well, that's great. That's the average response that I usually get, is to cut your expenses. We just covered on how to do some of that. Maybe you've got other things you can cut from. There's just a few examples here. But the next thing is, when you go to cut your income, you can only cut it so far. You can only cut your expenses so far. If you still have debt payments, you can't really cut those. They're pretty well fixed, you know, for the most part, right? Maybe, you know, you've cut back as far as you can, and you can't cut no more, and you're still paycheck to paycheck and can't save any money. At some point, you have to increase your income. Now, again, on a future video, we're going to talk about different income strategies, but I have an entrepreneurial DNA, if you will, that's in me. So what I mean by that is I look for things that I can do to create more profits. I don't get paid for my time. I create opportunities to make me some profits, right? And those profits increase my income. So maybe you're in a situation right now where you're working a 9-to-5 job, or maybe it's a second shift, a third shift job. And that job is paying your bills, and you need that job to pay your bills. And I'm not saying don't quit your job. Don't do that. So you have to increase your income. Maybe you can find things to sell on eBay. Maybe you can go out and do some driving for Uber and Lyft. That's one thing I've done in the past. I don't do it anymore. I just don't really, it doesn't fit what I'm doing right now, so I don't drive anymore. But that's one example. Maybe you can start doing piano lessons, or if you're tutoring, or finding things that you are good at that you can exchange your services for to make more money. So, and here's what I want you to understand. As your income goes up, do not fall into lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation will destroy your plan for saving money. What do I mean by lifestyle inflation? What is that? Lifestyle inflation is where you go out and you increase your money. Let's think of it this way. When someone goes out and they get a raise of their job, their paycheck, they get a raise with their paycheck, and this paycheck they get an extra couple $100 a month. As an example, $50 a week, okay? And they're like, hey, I'm making more money now. So what they'll do is they'll go out and they'll maybe buy a newer car with a higher payment, or they'll rack up some more credit card debt, or maybe they'll take on an added bill every month, and maybe they'll go ahead and get cable TV where they didn't have cable TV before, right? They're making more money. They could afford to pay it, but don't do that. Just because you increase your income does not mean you need to increase your expenses. Lifestyle inflation is where, as your income increases, so does your expenses. You just almost like, you keep your expenses keeping up with your income, and that's not a way to live. Let me tell you the way that my budget is written. Our budget is written on a set amount per month. I take what's called a draw from my company. And I took a salary and a draw from my company. And that's all. I live on that salary and draw. Any money that I make above and beyond that actually gets reinvested to go out and find things that make me more money. Let me give you a couple of examples as to how to save some money. When you live paycheck to paycheck and you truly don't have any more money, you are so strapped, your income minus your expenses, you're just out of money, right? And it seems like when you get paid on payday that the entire paycheck is gone before the day is over, right? You shouldn't live like that. It's stressful. Because if you get paid every 2 weeks, for example, or even once a week is one thing, but you get paid every once a week or every 2 weeks, and you spend your entire paycheck the first day you get it on all your bills and food and whatever else that you're budgeting for that week, you have no money left. You have to go 6 more days or 13 more days, depending on how you're paid, with no money. You can't do that. All right, so you have to do something to save money. You have to. We already talked about cutting our expenses. We already talked about, things that we can do, even increasing our income. We talked about those things already. So let's just say for just a minute that you needed to save some money. If you're watching this video right now and you are under the age of 40, if you're under the age of 40, you should be saving at least 10%. At least 10%. If you're over the age of 40, you should be saving at least 15% of your income. Think about that. Less than 40, 10% of your income. Over the age of 40, 15% of your income. Now I can hear it right now in the video before I even publish this on YouTube. They're saying, I can't save 10% of my income. I don't have any money left. My whole paycheck is going to bills. I can't save 10%. Okay. Let's go with that for just a minute, okay? Because I know someone's watching the video right now and they're relating to that topic, okay? They can't save 10%. They just can't do it. And I get it, because it's going to take some time to wean things out of your budget, whether it's debts you get paid off or you cutting your expenses back, doing the best you can, maybe bagging your own, brown bagging your lunch, taking it to work, whatever you can do to cut your expenses back, okay? Let's say you can't do 10% right now, and I understand that. You have to do something. So start with 1%. 1%. You can't do 10, and I understand that, but over time, you should be able to increase this to 10 or 15 or 20%. But right now you can't do that, and I understand. The point is, start somewhere. Start at 1%. The next month, the second month, increase that to 2%. The third month, increase that to 3%. You get the idea. So every month, increase it 1 more percent. Right? This is the first month, the second month, the third month. You kind of get the idea from there. At the end of 10 months, you should be at 10%. Doesn't look very pretty, but it's 10%. Okay? So it's 10%. Maybe you just want to keep doing that. If your income is increasing and you're working a side business, or you're doing a side gig, and that gig or business is paying you an extra couple $100 a month, then maybe you could do more at that point when that business begins to generate more income. Maybe you can actually save that entire amount of money. What do I mean by that? If your job pays your bills right now, and you went out and you increased your income, maybe you do freelance work, maybe you do video editing, maybe you do different things that you can do to market yourself to generate some more income. I really believe that profits are better than wages any day of the week anyway. So profits are better than wages. I'd rather be paid for my skill and my efforts that I put in than the amount of time I put in. Because I feel I'm making more money that way. But that's just me. Okay, if you're used to living on the income of your job, then you should be, and you're only saving 1% of your job's income at that point. Maybe your side business or your freelance work or whatever it is that you're doing to generate more income, you haven't been paying your bills at all on that income because you haven't had it. So now that you've got it, save 100% of it. Save it. What I want you to realize is the average household salary in America today is $52,029. Now, maybe you make more than that. Maybe you make less than that. I don't know. But why be average? Why be average? If you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're struggling to save money and you're struggling to get by, you can only cut your budget so far. At some point, you got to go out and increase your income. I hope this has worked out really well for you, and I hope you understand some things that you can do to help generate more savings. If you found this information helpful, I'd appreciate you subscribe to the YouTube channel and click the notification bell on the side so you're notified when we get a new video up and running.